Lies, lies, lies. Hello, this is Carrie O'Donnell from Tarot Soul Writer. And if you would like a personal reading with me, please go to my website, tarotsoulwriter.com, and I would be happy to do a reading for you. Today, I'm going to do a very short video on my 2024 predictions for February. Let's do a little reflection. Let's see what I got right and what I got wrong. My first set of predictions were on Hunter Biden. And one of the things that I remember getting is this idea of lies, lies, lies. And it will be clear the duplicitous behavior of the GOP. There will be absolutely no substance to this case, and their lies and their motivations are going to become really clear to a lot of Americans. This was very controversial at the time. In fact, I got a lot of comments when that video initially posted. The crimes he was being accused of, he was actually guilty of. He admits to it, and it's all public knowledge. It isn't lies, people said. Well, as it turns out in February, Alexander Smirnov is exposed as lying to the FBI on Biden and Hunter receiving bribes from Burisma. Lies, lies, lies. And on February 28th, and this comes from the ABC website, a measured and defiant Hunter Biden addresses a litany of allegations during 6 hours of closed-door testimony before the GOP-led House Oversight and Judiciary Committees. The deposition appears to include no major bombshells, as he repeatedly invokes his struggles with drug and alcohol addictions. So the connection they were trying to make with Hunter and Burisma, or bribes, were actually exposed as lies, lies, lies in February. And frankly, I got that one right. My next predictions were on Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, and a potential scandal that was arising around him. I do believe something hidden will come out about the Speaker of the House. It has something to do with secrets, something that was covered over in some way that he was trying to hide. And it's like a turning point. So for many Americans and GOP members, it's going to be like the blindfold was just ripped off or taken off. And they are going to be forced to choose a side. And because of this, you're going to see members of the GOP breaking off. I really couldn't find anything that was really that scandalous that came out about Mike Johnson in that particular month. But what I did pick up is a little bit of a faux pas around the impeachment of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas. On February 6th, there was an attempt to do an impeachment, and he didn't have the votes. This caused a mini Republican, I guess you could say, rebellion within the party. Then he got his stuff together, and on February 13th, the House impeached Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas by 214 to a 213 vote, by one vote. Well, really two, to kind of get the majority. It was championed by Johnson. He was able to rectify his mistakes and learning a little bit about being Speaker of the House, like you better have the votes. I wouldn't call this a scandal, but it was a little faux pas. I kind of feel like I got this sort of right. My next vision were for pockets of anger and violence that would arise in the center of the country. I remember very specifically getting a picture where my guide showed me the beginning of like the Panhandle area of Texas. And they moved me up through Oklahoma and into Kansas. So I had this gray area they were showing me on the map. I saw an explosion, and then I saw train tracks. It's like little pop-ups of domestic terrorist threats and strong potential of harm to others. Specifically, I do get an explosion. So I saw this explosion in my third eye, and it felt like the Plains states. I want to say either Upper Texas, Oklahoma, or Kansas, somewhere in that sort of middle section. It was very flat, prairie-like. And I did see train tracks for some reason and an explosion. As it turns out, there are a variety of things that fit my vision during this time. The explosion on February 1st in the Panhandle, there was an actual gas line explosion. And when I saw pictures of it, one of my viewers pointed it out to me in the story. And when I saw the picture, I was like, oh my goodness, that's what I saw. It was a very industrial like scene, and it very much fit what I feel was that gas line explosion. That particular explosion happened between Texas and Oklahoma, which is probably why I saw that sort of panhandle area between the two states. Then when they showed me the train tracks, and I had this feeling of domestic terrorism, unfortunately, I feel like what I was predicting was the shooting, which is now known as the Union Station Massacre, that occurred on February 14th, right after the Kansas City Chiefs had won. I believe it was around the time they were having their victory parade. There was a shooting. Some people were killed. And the Union Station, that's why I saw the train tracks. They were trying to tell me about the shooting. I kind of felt like it was domestic terrorism. It wasn't anything that I think was pre-planned per se, but it was a form of domestic terrorism. That's what happens when there is a mass shooting. Unfortunately, I wish I hadn't gotten that right, but the truth is I did. My next predictions were on the abuse of women's rights. Many of these cards were pointing to an abuse of the feminine, family planning, the abortion issues, and women's rights in general. There may be a triggering event in February that ignites the fire within women and men who are more enlightened. Families have had enough. This triggering event may be around the death or imprisonment of a woman. There are a number of things that happened concerning women's rights in the month of February. The IVF ruling was a triggering event. Most protests were online, but this was a turning point in the fight for reproductive rights. It made it clear that this was not an attack at abortion, but women. This IVF ruling came about on February 16th. The Supreme Court of Alabama issued a ruling declaring that embryos created in vitro fertilization should be considered children and provide legal protections. On February 21st, in an effort to avoid civil and criminal liability by both doctors and patients, the University of Alabama at Birmingham said it would suspend IVF treatments. So this triggering event really was a turning point for women's rights in America. And it's when most women knew this has nothing to do with being pro-life or saving babies. This is an attack on women. I feel like I sort of got this right. One of the images I got here was of a liquid Trump. Truth is coming out about Donald Trump, whether that is within a trial situation or a raid. There will be news of something he has been hiding, possible classified documents. There are schemes and plans revealed. On February 1st, ABC notes, according to sources, that special counsel team questioned several witnesses about a closet in a so-called hidden room inside Trump's residence at Mar-a-Lago that the FBI didn't check while searching the estate in August 2022. He had many schemes of trying to get away with things, that sort of liquid aspect to him. In February 2022, Trump's legal team files a series of motions to dismiss the case, arguing that it should be dismissed on the grounds of presidential immunity, that Jack Smith's appointment as special counsel was unlawful, that Smith charged Trump with statutes that shouldn't apply to the former president's behavior based on an unclear precedent in the Constitution, and that Trump should have been able to have custody of the documents in question even after he was president because of the Presidential Records Act. There is also some symbol of water here with Donald Trump. And I'm just going to say what I saw. This is weird, but I see him made of water. So I saw like a Donald Trump, like made of water, and he came crashing down like into a puddle. And then the water ran to like a new place and then kind of came up. And there he was again, made of water. It took a while to figure it out, but one of my viewers helped me. They were like, he's being liquidated. And I was like, yep, that's it. So I wrote down here, he's trying in the month of February, Trump had to pay $83 million in fraud penalties, but he was slippery and he was trying to get away with not paying. He was also saying a lot of stupid things with high emotion. Water symbolizes emotion, and I do get that his emotions are on high, spurting his violent rhetoric to hide his fear, encouraging Russia to do whatever the hell they want, end quote. I get the Queen of Swords is on him in February. Women rise. This could be the abortion situation that I had just saw and just talked about, coupled with news from New York and or Georgia. I did feel a woman of color, so I don't know which one that is. Ivanka could be in play as well. Maybe this is the time we hear some sort of betrayal from her. But Lady Justice is here, and preparation for a trial is underway. This is the hush money trial with Stormy Daniels. I didn't get much for Ivanka, though. So for the most part here, I got this right. In this vision, I did get a woman judge, and I believe she was Judge Chutkin. I see a female judge put down her gavel, and a woman of color. And I believe one of it isn't the January 6th judge. She may be a woman of color. You can tell me in the comments. But I do feel like it's involving a preparation for a trial or something coming down on him. Lady Justice, boom. And I definitely saw a woman of color. This is good news for the United States. I see plans thwarted and a destruction of his hope. On February 2nd, Judge Chutkin postpones the March 4th start date for Trump's federal election interference trial, saying she will set a new trial date after the Court of Appeals resolves the question of Trump's presidential immunity. This was not something that thwarted Trump's hopes. So on this particular prediction, I got it wrong. Concerning Trump's health could also have some issues in February, along with high chances for surgery of some sort. I really didn't get any health events that were public. He may have had some issues that were private, but they weren't public. And so therefore, I got this wrong. Trump and his personal taxes. They also get something with the IRS or taxes that will be a burden for him. I think that this particular prediction wasn't about the IRS per se. In that case, I got it wrong, but it more connected with the civil fraud case in New York. So for this, I got it sort of right. So not bad. Some were really right on. Others were a bit off, or maybe the timing was off. We'll have to see as we move into March. That is my reflection on the February 2024 predictions. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share this video with all your friends. As always, it's a pleasure reading for you. Bye-bye.
It's a new day.